Okay, in this video, I'm going to be showing you how to fix a very common issue here on the Dodge Challengers. And the issue with this is not having heat. So right now, I've got the heat on, and I've got it set all the way here on high, and I've got the blower blowing all the way. And as you can see, there's no heat coming out of the vents. The blower is working fine, this blowing out of the vents fine, but there's no heat. It's a very common issue on these cars, and it actually turns out that usually it's a blend door actuator. The very first thing you're going to want to do though, is you're going to want to come out of the car here, under the hood, and you're going to want to take a look at the heater core lines here. So you've got a line that goes into the heater core here, and a line that goes into the heater core here on the bottom. You're going to want to feel both those lines. And if you feel both those lines, and they are both warm, then you know that the heater core is not plugged. The coolant's still getting through the heater core fine, and everything like that. And once you confirm that that is good, then you know that the coolant is getting into the car, the warm coolant is getting in there, and it's going to blow out. However, it's not blowing out of the vents. If you feel the line and the one going into the heater core is cold, or the one going into the heater core is warm and the one going out of the heater core is cold, then it's a very good sign that the heater core is plugged. And you have to do something, you have to remove the heater core or remove the dash or unplug it somehow. That's not something that will be covered in this video, but you want to confirm that before beginning any work on replacing the blend door actuator. So I've confirmed that that is fine. The vehicle's at operating temperature right now. So it's running right at the temp it should be, and there's just not any warm air blowing out of the vents here. Okay, so on this vehicle here, it turns out that when there's no heat like that, there's a blend door actuator that controls the heater control here. So when you turn it from hot to cold, there's a little electric motor that turns to adjust whether it's hot or cold. And right now that motor, that blend door actuator is actually bad and is stuck on the cold setting, which is why there's no heat blowing out through the vents. There's actually 3 blend door actuators on these cars. There's 2 on the driver's side and 1 on the passenger side. There's 1 on the driver's side for the heating control, what temperature you want it at. And then there's a second control on the driver's side for if you want it on vent, floor, whatever you want it on, defrost. Then there's 1 on the passenger side for if you want it on vent, floor, defrost. On the vent, floor, defrost, everything like that is working on both sides, so both those actuators are good. However, it is stuck on cold. So that actuator is going to be located underneath the dash here. So you just want to come down here, and I'll show you how to get started. Okay, so now I'm underneath the vehicle here. You've got your steering column here, as you can see. And then you come over here in the middle, right here where the radio is, kind of behind where the radio is, not quite all the way back there. And you can see here, I know it's kind of a really tight fit. You have this blend door actuator here. This one here is the one for the heat, floor, defrost, all of that. And then there's 1 more up here, up a little bit farther where that red electrical connector is going into that. And that one there is for the temperature control. So I'm just going to show you here real quick how these work. Okay, so now I've got the vehicle in the on position here, and I just had the blower going. And as you can see, this here is the first actuator. And this one here is for whether or not you have it on vent, floor, whatever you have it on. So right now I'm just going to turn that knob up here on the dash. And as you can see, as I turn that knob, it moves that actuator. So I know that actuator is working just as it should. So that actuator is moving just like it should. So now I'm going to come up here to the other actuator. That's for the climate controls. And I'm going to move that actuator, that knob here. And as you can see, I'm moving that knob. And I'm moving that knob right now. I'm not hearing any noise. Nothing's moving. So I know that's the issue. Okay, so no, it's kind of hard to hear over the ignition and all that, but I was moving that knob and nothing was moving there. So I know that actuator is bad. Very common issue on these cars. A couple of Torx bits here that you're going to want to get removed. So I'm going to get those removed, and then we're going to pull it out here. These other actuators may adjust around a little bit. Once you've had the ignition off for a few minutes, they will automatically adjust, and they do adjust every time you open and close the door and when you start the vehicle and all that. So don't be concerned if these all start moving around. Okay, so once you've gotten that old blend door actuator out of there with the two T15 Torx bits. Then it's just this electrical connector here on top. They just push these red tabs up and kind of push up on it. Okay, so I went ahead and I got the old blend door here. I got this pulled out. This is actually the second time on this vehicle having issues with the blend door here, and it just goes out, and it ends up that the vehicle keeps getting stuck on AC, especially going into the cold weather. This is a very common issue on these vehicles. Like I said, you can replace this blend door. You can set it to turn it all the way to heat on their controls, turn it all the way to AC, line it up, and get the new one installed in there. But the problem is these just go out a lot of times, and then you have problems with no heat or no AC when you need it. And really, what I'm going to be doing, just because so many problems with these vehicles, with these blend door actuators going out, what I'm going to do is I'm actually not going to be putting a new actuator in. What I'm just going to be doing is, since it's going into winter and it's going to be getting cold, I'm just going to come down here and I just am going to set this manually to heat. And to go ahead and get this set manually to heat, it's just going to be up here under the dash. I'm just going to come up, and you're going to see where the little adjuster is right here next to the heater core. You got your heater core lines. You got this thing. You just want to pull it all the way down here, down near this tab here, and it's all the way on heat. And then if I need AC, I can just come down here and I can flip it all the way up, and I can flip it up to AC. Right now I have it set on heat. I'm just going to leave it on heat because the AC really hardly ever gets used in this car, and there's no point in having a blend door actuator that keeps going bad when I can just keep it set on heat all the time because I hardly ever use the AC. So I just have it set to heat here. So now I'm just going to go ahead and start it up and make sure the heat's working fine, like it should be. This here I would recommend, if you're experiencing lots of issues with these blend doors, this here is just a simple way of doing it. It's just a manual control instead of having to deal with all the electronics and stuff. If you want the blend door where it can work properly with the controls and all that, you can install it back in there. Just have to make sure to get it all lined up and whatnot. But this here is just what I'm going to be doing. Okay, so I just went ahead. I started the car back up here after I got the thing selected manually to heat. My reason for just selecting it manually down there and not trying to install a new blend door actuator is just because I've had these go out so many times on these cars that it just find it much easier if I'm not using the AC, just to manually set that on heat. If you're not going to be using the heat, mostly using the AC, I mean, you can manually set it that way. There's nothing wrong with putting in a new blend door actuator, but I just know they do cause a lot of issues. So I have mine manually set on heat. I got the car idling here, and the operating temperature is just starting to get up the operating temperature here. And I've got my heat controls set on high, lower all the way on. If I come up here, it's already creeping up near the 100 degrees here. So the heat is definitely working as it should be. So that's just how I went ahead and did it. Hopefully this video helps, especially experiencing issues with no heat going into the winter time. This is definitely a very common issue, and this here is one of the fixes for that. So hopefully this video is helpful, and thanks for watching.